So chapter 13 highlights the conversation between Enoch and Azazel. Azazel, the one who taught the magic, he corrupted the humankind. He taught them the heavenly secrets that they're not supposed to know, because spirits and humans are supposed to be separated. Cosmic and earthly are supposed to be separated. God didn't authorize the angels to teach humankind the secrets of the heavens. They're not supposed to. I mean, it's just like trying to eat from the tree of life and trying to know, to open up the minds and to know everything about heaven. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to know anything of the heavens until God authorizes it. So by corrupting the men, then men will not ask God's guidance anymore or lean on God anymore. So that's pretty much everything that happened. So chapter 13, Enoch had a conversation with Azazel and Samjaza, and he was telling them, hey, you know what? You're not going to get any mercy. You're not going to get back into the good graces of God because of what you did. You corrupted the whole entire humankind. And now you have these children. I mean, he was just like delineating everything that those two head of the fallen angels had done and how they conspired against God to ruin God's plan. And also he said, you guys are not going to have any peace. You're not going to have any mercy. You're going to be bound to eternal damnation. He was sending God's message to them because God could just so disgusted, didn't want to talk to them at all. They want to have anything to do with them at all. And so they begged Enoch to petition for them. But their sins are so outrageous and they're spiritual. They cannot be forgiven because their spirits live forever. And it's just like discombobulated now, because it's like the perfect order of God's creation has been jumbled and discombobulated, and now it's all messed up. So the only way that God can fix this is to, number one, put them in the pit and bind them in chains so that they can't escape and create ruckus in the world, even though the spirits of their offspring still has the DNA of God within them. So they cannot be bound like that, but they could just be thrown in the pit of fire just as much as he can throw in the pit of fire the people that turned their back on him. So that was like, if I was God, I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do. But if I was God, maybe, I'm not trying to be trying to be God because he's got his work cut out for him. My goodness. Imagine creating something and it just goes berserk and doesn't do what you want that you created them to do. Imagine having a creation like you created a robot and then it suddenly turns against you and starts trying to kill you and all that. That's how it was. That's it. But God is also so powerful and merciful, but he's not merciful against people who just, they purposely backstabbed him. Humans, on the other hand, don't really sin unless they're urged to sin. They're tempted. Like we're all tempted. We're not just, we were not born to say, okay, I'm going to be born and I'm going to live a life killing people. That's not how humans start. Okay. Humans start as like very pure, innocent, and the only time that they really sin is because they're, originally it's already in our makeup, but it wasn't because of us. So in a way, God is forgiving and merciful to us because we were kind of like innocent in all of this. We didn't get born in this world trying to sin, but Adam and Eve did, and they purposely was tempted by Satan, and Satan is the number one deceiver of the world. For us, you can't push that envelope. You can't push your luck and saying, okay, well, I can do this until I'm about to die and then ask for forgiveness. Sometimes when you turn your back on God too many times, he will also not forgive you. That's the only sin in the world that God cannot forgive. It's you turning your back against him and the unbelief. Number one, that's the number one sin. You can sin anything and everything, ask for forgiveness. He'll forgive you. Forget your sins from east to west, and they never meet. But if you turn away from him and just rebel against him constantly over and over and over again. There's a limit. There's boundaries. God is merciful, but he's also a fair judge. So we can't pretend like we can gaslight him and say I'm sorry, and then the next day do something that would also will upset him again, like just committing sins again. And by the way, because Enoch was a scribe, he wrote the petition. He was actually the attorney. He whatever it was, the parchment paper that he used before. I don't know what type of writing instrument that he used before, but he wrote the letter to God for, as if he was Azazel and Samjaza, but he already knew that God will not even entertain the thought of it, the very thought of it. So the entire thing is a proclamation. The entire thing, he just proclaimed it. It's not no longer an intercession, and there's no ambiguity in God's decision. It was final. And can you blame him? That's the biggest, hugest sin that you could ever do, is to get in the way, get in between God's plan. So a lot of us do that in our lives. We always, we ask God, as a Christian, I don't know if you are, but this is what happens in Christian life. Christians are not perfect. Don't get it in your head and have the thought that Christians are perfect. We're not. We're just like everybody else, because we were born into sin and we sin throughout our lives. There's no ands or buts about it. It's just the fact that when you fear God, and fear that's not, you're scared and you're like, your adrenaline is going, that's not the kind of fear that I'm talking about. The kind of fear I'm talking about, that you're about to commit a sin, but then you have this fear like, okay, well, I don't want to do this because it's going to upset God. That's the kind of restraint that God is looking for, and that's expected of us. We're still going to fall down. We're still going to falter. It's still going to happen. We're going to sin no matter what, within our thoughts, within our deeds, with anything. But the fact that if you consciously know that you're about to sin and you still do it anyway, that's the kind of thing that God is aware of and knows about. However, it's something that our flesh, because we're made of flesh, our flesh sometimes cannot fight that temptation. So we do it. But then when we realize that, hey, we did something wrong, we ask God for forgiveness. That's where God becomes very merciful and gives us grace. Okay. But you have to have that element. You have to have that element, that fear of God, that it's going to upset him. And, but you know it, you did it, but you did it, but you're sorry about it. That's what he's looking for, because he's so merciful. But you have to grow from there spiritually. You have to make sure that the next time it comes, you're a little bit more calloused and say, no. The more and more and more and more and are aware of the sins that you're committing, and the more you fight against it, the more calloused you are. You start developing the callus, and then the next time it happens, it's easier to say no, easier and easier and easier. And that goes for addiction as well. Addiction comes in all shapes and sizes. It could come in chemical addiction, medication, smoking, drinking, all these things, sex. Those are the things, the addiction that your body enjoys as flesh, that gets satisfied when you do it, but it goes against God's law. But you do it anyway. It's an addiction, and it's hard to fight. But the more you fight it, the more you successfully fight it, the more mercy you will get, and the more grace you will get from God. And with that knowledge, you grow spiritually in your walk with God. And that's the best way I can explain it. But now, because of Samjaza and Azazel were created, and they're not really created for the pleasure of God, but they're created sort of like employees, if you will, like loyal. They're supposed to be loyal employees. of God, because you know the Bible says that once we get to heaven we're going to be above the angels. We're like children of God. We have God's makeup within us. We were made in his image. So if you look at someone, I mean four legs, two legs, two arms, a head, you're looking at an image of God. So I don't know if it's physical or spiritual, or it probably is more spiritual, because the Bible says that once we transform in our spiritual state, we would be as beautiful as the angels, and as beautiful as the heavenly beings, which is amazing. And you know, my cousin just passed away the past couple of weeks, and you know, I can just imagine him as an angel. He's a very light-hearted person, and he would, for me, it was like he would just spread humor in heaven, and he's just funny like that. And he, even in the afterlife, he came to me in a Facebook post. Okay, so I have I have my personal Facebook, and then I have my art Facebook that I barely ever check. You know, anytime I like maybe check it once a year, maybe twice a year, and then I get a notification. I woke up the next about 4 days after he passed away, and I get a notification that says my cousin suggested that my cousin to be my friend, like, you know, click and be my friend. So I'm like, okay, this is funny, because he's, you know, I mean, how does he access Facebook anyway? So this is really funny. So okay, I'll play. So I click the notification, and you know how it opens up to Facebook, and then it shows you the notification list. It wasn't there. Like, you know what? He calls me my name and a deer after that, and I'm a deer, and I call him Eric Deer. It's like, Eric Deer, you know, I hear you. I see you. That was pretty awesome. And you know, God allows people that have passed away to communicate like that with their loved ones. And you know, the before he died, when, because I know he had cancer, and before he died, like months before he died, you know, I told him, I said, well, you know, you're gonna go to the next chapter of your spirit, and when you get there, just make sure you talk to Jesus good things about me. And he's like, oh yeah, no problem. You know, I'll give him the rundown. And it's just funny. Chapter 13, after Enoch told the watchers about their future, the reaction was so haunting. I wonder what they were looking like when Enoch told them that. But heaven has already spoken. God has already spoken. Once the word gets down, like, it's like an axe, it's forever, it's a done deal. No more ands, ifs, or buts about it. And their petition is denied. Petition denied. You're fired. And so the authority of Enoch over them, over the fallen angels, were so evident that, you know, he wasn't there to argue about it, to debate about it. He was there to proclaim it. And like a representative of God saying, hey, no, you're done. It's over with. And this chapter is so chilling, because it's chilling enough that the wrath of God is going to happen to the world soon. But it's the finality of it, the final word. I mean, when God created the earth, the world, it was through his word. And the finality of it is also going to be through his word. I hope you enjoyed this section. It just like really defines what Enoch's purpose was there for, what he was assigned from God to do. And I mean, because he's already back and forth in heaven and earth, he can't be forever on earth anymore, because he's already part of the cosmic world, the heavens. So that's probably the reason why just God took him and just kept him there, because, you know, he was now like, even if he's still in flesh, He was now like the advocate. He was now the bridge between heaven and earth. So why leave you on earth when, to suffer all these, earthly suffering, the pain and the suffering? Why would he let Enoch do that when he was already assigned? He was already like a heavenly commissioner, a member of the heavenly staff, if you will. So why would he return him to earth and allow him to suffer like we're suffering? We have to eat, we have to drink, we have to, we have to feel pain bodily, physically, mentally, and like having to deal with human beings. I mean, that's like the worst pain and the worst suffering for anyone. So God made the decision that, okay, I'm taking Enoch and I'm just keeping him, and he can be a part of the heavenly body. And that's how he was raptured. And that's exactly what's going to happen to the children of God, the bride of Christ, at the end of time, in the book of Revelation, at the end of the book of Revelation, or the beginning of the book of Revelation, when Jesus will take us up and pretty much rescue us from this world, because he is going to spread his wrath, and it's going to happen. And I don't care if you believe it or not. I hope you do. But, all the naysayers, you just got to think about it really hard, and just, have that internal conversation with yourself, and dig really deep and find that God size hole in your heart, fill it with God, and then you will change your mind. And all of this will make sense. All of this will make sense. I guarantee you. So with that, I bid you ta-da, and I'll see you on the next one. Make sure that you click the like button. Make a comment down there. I don't care what it is. If you don't spill your guts, then you're keeping it in. Talk to me. Tell me what you think about this. What do you think about the book of Enoch? Have you read it? Have you tried to read it? And if you haven't, I urge you to go and read it. And it would be in the Ethiopian Bible. You can get it from Amazon. You can download it from Kindle. You can find it online. There's a PDF out there. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to read the PDF because the font is so small. You could barely read it. So I chose to read it on Kindle, because it's easier for me to like blow it up if I can't read it. It's easier on my eyes. So, but if you don't want to spend the money, you can definitely find this. You just have to search for it. You download the PDF and then read it. But I'm telling you, it's really hard to read. PDF, you can't blow it up that much. And so I'll see you on the next one. It's pretty good size, chapter 14. So it's going to have its own video. And with that, I hope that God blesses you, sincerely blesses you. Speak to God. Ask him to forgive you. Make Jesus the Lord of your life. Make Jesus King of Kings, because he already is King of Kings, no matter if you want to make him one or not. Make him the priority in your life. Because once he's the priority in your life, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Once it's a priority in your life, it just keeps going, and life starts to happen to you. Life starts to be kinder. People starts to be kinder. You meet nicer people. You meet people who are caring, and then you attract that to yourself. You attract the good people to yourself, because God will lead them to you, and he will put you in a position where you're not going to feel alone, because God is always there. And no matter what happens in your life, when people judge you, people put you down, God will always raise you up. And is that more important than anybody else who's just as faltered as you, just as human as you are, to raise you up and to hold you up? For me, it's the best thing that could ever happen in my life. And with that, again, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.